It's week 2, Ohio State versus Grambling at 3:30 inside the shoe. I'm Stephen Means, that's Stefan Krajisnik, and that is Andrew Gillis. And it's time to give our game predictions for week 2 for the Buckeyes. There's no line this week, and there's no spread this week. There probably will be one by the time the game kicks off, but they typically don't do those ahead of time when you're playing FCS opponents. This is going to be the 5th time Ohio State's played an FCS opponent in the past 25 years. They played Youngstown State twice in 2007 and 2008, and then Florida State in 2013. And then Ryan Day, this is the 2nd time he'll play an FCS opponent. He also played Youngstown State in 2023. Ohio State 4-0 in those 4 previous matchups. Stefan, you're up first. What is your game score?
Yeah, I have Ohio State winning this game 63-0. I think, frankly, the only thing standing in the way is time, right? Time is of the essence. See what you can do in 60 minutes. And I think that's score more than 1 point per minute for Ohio State. I just think that these two programs are in very different spots. One's an FCS program. One's the reigning national champions in college football. So that's the Ohio State's going to have its way. But I think part of why I have it being this sizable of a margin is Ohio State has a lot to learn. Ohio State has a lot that it wants to kind of throw on Julian Sain's plate and see what he can handle. Same goes for some of the defensive players. But even in the second half, when guys like Lincoln Keenholz and Tavian St. Clair get opportunities, and guys, Mylan Graham, Quincy Porter, Riley Pettijohn, Devin Sanchez, Aaron Scott, up and down the list of Ohio State's roster of guys who, like when we talked about this earlier this week on Buckeye Talk with Tavian St. Clair, like he'll probably play a couple more games this season. This might be the only game where he throws a pass, right? And that's a guy who might be this team's starting quarterback in 2 years. So there's opportunities for so many guys that need to take advantage of those. Even a guy like CJ Hicks, who might start in this game, has plenty to play for as he kind of, transitions to this defensive end role and gets more and more reps there. So 63-0. I think Ohio State is obviously going to jump ahead early and kind of have its way. But I think the impact of what these guys, even in the second half, need to, like, these quarterbacks aren't coming in and just hand off the ball, I don't think, because I think they need these reps. That's going to grow the score more and more. And that's why I have it being 63-0 as the final.
My score is 63-0 as well, which is funny. I think, Andrew, please don't tell me your score is 63-0.
Not anymore. It's not. It was, but not anymore.
Okay, no. We're gonna rock with it. No, we're gonna rock with it. All of us are going to be 63-0. Why did you originally choose 63-0?
I think you looked at the game against FAMU a few years ago, or was that like 10, 15 years ago? I guess it was 76-0.
Yeah.
I think the clock rules are a little different. I think that helps Grambling State here. I have mentioned this. I think Ohio State is going to work on a lot here, and I don't think it's just going to be, let's throw it 60 times. I think they're going to try and establish some sort of a running game. They didn't really get that going against Texas. I do think you want to get that involved. I do think you want to start to say, hey, James, let's start to see this a little better. He only had 10 rushes for 20 yards against Texas. So I think running the ball might be a part of this. And I don't want to discount the idea of, I guess defensive touchdowns are certainly possible, but I don't want to discount the idea of, Ohio State gets the ball at their own 20-yard line and they have a 6-minute drive for a touchdown because they have a drive where they're saying, we're going to run the ball and we're going to focus on how we're running the ball here. And, you go on an 80-yard drive or something like that. And, quick passes, it's not explosive. It's maybe with your second team offense, something like that. I think that's possible as well. So yeah, when you're mixing in so many different guys, when you're trying different things, I think that's probably what prevents the score from like getting to like 77 or something like that, like it was a few years ago. But yeah, I mean, Ohio State's defense was awesome. I think obviously they're just more talented across the board. And we'll see how this one plays out. But I do think just that amount of, changing bodies, that amount of, hey, we're going to focus on giving Julian more. We're going to focus on this. We also need to focus on the run game. I think all that paired together kind of led me to, nothing like we saw a couple of years ago where it was 35-7 against Youngstown State. But I don't think we're going to get as bad as it was about a decade ago.
So 190-13. That's how much Ohio State has outscored FCS opponents in its 4 previous games. Youngstown State in 2007, they beat them 36-6. In 2008, they beat the Penguins 43-0. And as Andrew mentioned, in 2013, Florida A&M 76-0, and then Youngstown State in 2023 35-7. That's 47.5. That's the average. I don't think Grambling's getting on the board this game. I also have 63-0 because I think this is going to be the second time they get over 50 in this game. I don't think they care that much about trying to figure out the run game this week because you can't. What are you going to learn about it? Oh, Austin Sareveld and Luke Montgomery created a hole so wide that one of us could have ran for 40 yards through it. It's not. I think next week when they play Ohio, when I understand there's still a talent gap, but there are at least some guys in Ohio's team who could be playing for Power 4 teams, right? I mean, Will Kazmarek came from Ohio. Indiana's quarterback last year came from Ohio. So it's just the gap isn't nearly as crazy wide where you can figure out your run game a little bit. I think they're going to throw it all over the yard. And as a result of throwing it, because they're trying to get this pass game clicking, there just might be some 40, 50-yard touchdowns that they accidentally slip and fall into. And so my question became how many possessions do I think Ohio State is going to get? Because it is different clock rules, so that might play into it. And if I don't think there's going to be a defensive touchdown, how many possessions do they get? And I was going back and forth between 10 and 9, and I landed on 9. So that's how I got 63-0. Ohio State wins this football game. I would say that 56 of those points are with Julian Sand on the field. 7 of those points come with Lincoln Kienholz on the field. I don't think Tavian St. Clair throws a pass in this game. I think they should let him throw a pass, but just the way Ryan Day talked about him Wednesday evening when he got asked about where he is and how often they actually give the threes work versus him just doing scout team stuff, I just think it might get to a point where he's in the last series or 2 series and that's where they just start handing the ball off, and all of a sudden Bo Jackson's got 17 to 18. I would love to see them throw it with all 3 quarterbacks in this game. I think this is the only game where you can. I'm just not sure based off of Ryan Day's answer that's 100% what's going to happen. But here we are, 63-0. All 3 of us on one accord, one band, one sound. You will be perfect in every way. Shout out to Herman Boone. 63-0, all 3 of us, Ohio State inside Ohio Stadium, playing Grambling on Saturday at 3:30 on Big Ten Network. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to do a full pod. We just did 40 minutes on Grambling and what we should expect from that game and why these games still matter. And we're also going to talk a little bit of Michigan. And if you're watching on YouTube, well, you'll get the text, 614-350-3315. It's a 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that for Stefan Krajisnik and Andrew Gillis. I'm Stephen Means. We'll be right back after this break here on Buckeyes.